What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Realness. I'm sitting here with Cory Allen, the host of the Astro Hustle podcast, and one of the most woke folks that I've ever encountered in my life. What is up, brother?
I'm just sitting over here being woke.
I know, dude. I can feel it. I can feel it on you. My mirror neurons are just spiced up right now.
Not too much, man. I'm mirror neuroned out too. I shined my mirror neurons over here with the world's best glass cleaner so that I'd be extra shiny because, the 3 points to being are recognizing the crystallized nature of the mirror, recognizing the reflective nature of the mirror itself, and then recognizing the reflection that it casts.
I totally understood all of that.
So I just wanted to be nice and shiny for you.
Yeah, you're sparkly. You're emitting this like sparkly beams of your essence is just sparkles. I'm gonna start calling you Sparkles from now on.
Hey, man, I think
Cory Sparkles Allen.
a lot of people would understand that.
You should change the name of your podcast to Sparkles, the Sparkle Cast.
Can we pause this so I can do that real quick?
Dude, we did a quite an epic show here.
It was something else, man.
I don't even think I can. I think it transcends words as far as what
Well,
what you're about to get yourself into.
The fact that we did devolve into just long grunts and drones and chants and stuff, I think it did transcend words. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool that it happens so slowly over time too.
Yeah, people probably won't even notice it.
No, they won't. They'll just go into a trance and then really transcend their physical bodies, and so they'll be. And we do touch on this during the podcast. Is that what's happened is we'll be talking and then slowly, as if they were just riding over the horizon. They're like, when you ride towards the horizon, you turn around. You don't realize how far you've gone, but all of a sudden, where you were is now far away. But you still seem like you're in the same place, right?
Exactly.
And just like that, as we're approaching the place that we're going to get to in the podcast, that we do get to, they will slowly start to shrivel up. They will age. Their bodies will age, and they'll get their rainbow body. They'll turn into a rainbow spectrum of light, and then transcend into different folds of the universe.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the only concern I have about this podcast if someone's listening to it at work, because your coworkers may be caught off guard by this transcendence.
Yeah, they'll be like, wait, that person in the cubicle over there, they look old. They look dead. Why is there a rainbow there? Why are they flowing away? And I wonder about the Bardo pool, the Bardo pond, the pool of manifestation, and the old Buddhism there.
Yeah.
What do you think the pool cleaner is like?
I don't know. Sparkly.
Yeah, because
some kind of magic. Yeah,
someone's got to keep that sucker clean.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
What do you do? How do you feel about that?
I don't know.
That's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
The guy better be getting paid 6 figs.
Yeah, the Bardo pool boy.
Yeah. He's probably just internally young.
Yeah, he's just dropping tablets of Dharma in there, keeping that sucker nice.
Where can you get Dharma tablets on Etsy?
I'll sell you some.
Okay, cool. Sweet. Let me go and grab some real quick. Well, dude, I'm pretty stoked. But this is a fun podcast. Always fun to have you on the show. Let's get into this audio experience.
Let's get into it, man.
I'm going to drop some knowledge on you real quick before we jump into this podcast with Cory. And this is something that I've recently heard and really just fundamentally changed the way that I live my life. And I don't know how it's taken me so long to realize this, but I just can't fully wrap my mind around how true this statement is. You are what you eat. You are what you eat. I know. You're probably pretty shook right now too. That's a lot to take in. Let me just say it one more time for you. You are what you eat. And I mean that literally. Like, what you put in your mouth hole becomes you. And if you want to be a wild, untamed beast in the life that you live, living fully and expressing yourself in the best way possible, then you need to eat wild, untamed beasts. In the perfect world, I'm only eating wild, untamed beasts and wild, untamed vegetables. I want my vegetables to be cutting edge fucking savages. That's what I want. That's what I try to seek out when I forage at Whole Foods, finding the most wild fruits and vegetables and the most wild meats that I can get my hands on. And I am stoked to let you know that Onnit has just come out with the Elk Bar. Elk, bacon, bison. If your mouth didn't start watering when I said those words, you need to go get your shit checked out, because this is next level shit here, guys. The Elk Bar from Onnit in association with Tonka Foods. Tonka Bar was been around for a long time. It's my favorite meat bar. Tonka is kick-ass, and they put the Elk Bar together. An Elk Bar. Like, usually if you want elk, you got to know somebody who elk hunts. You got to go to some kind of weird meat store and find elk. Just it's hard to get a hold of, or you got to take some kind of like spear and just spear one, or maybe go bow hunting if you're me, and just it costs like thousands of dollars to go up into the mountains and hike around in the freezing ass cold. And granted, that's probably the best way to harvest an elk. But if you can go to onnit.com/real and harvest a box of elk bars for 10% off retail cost, why the hell wouldn't you just do that until you can get yourself to the mountains, until you can go up there and lay it down? You know, that's my thought. It's like, yeah, I would like to go to the mountains and hunt elk, harvest a wild animal, but in the meantime, I might as well have a box of elk bar snacks to fuel me throughout the day. And if I was going to get those elk bar snacks, I'd go to onnit.com/real. That's onnit.com/real. Get 10% off your elk bars and all other food and supplements. Put it in your mouth, guys. Put it in your mouth and become wild and free. Onnit.com/real.
Cause this is all we get. Don't wanna just survive. I feel like killing it. I'm a thrill seeker. It's nice to meet you while we're here. I'm gonna leave ya. So let's get this shit in gear.
I feel like booze is just doesn't do it for me anymore. I'm just not that guy.
Yeah.
Of all the things I could do to intoxicate myself, booze just doesn't make the top of the list, which is funny because I work in a bar now.
I think that's a good thing. You see, because when you're there, and if you're sober, and you see people that are there and they've been drinking, and you're not in their zone, then you see it from the outside, and you're like, oh my god, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
But even having a couple at night is still over time it grinds you down and
Yeah.
sucks you dry, man.
It does, man.
I feel like it just makes me sleepy.
Yeah.
Like I don't really get a buzz or anything off of drinking so much. Like I have a glass of wine or something, I'm like I'm ready to go to sleep.
I'm just a big fan of like Oxycontin and
Yeah. I have this little heroin and DMT mixture that I do.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when I'm peaking in both directions, I then like jam an EpiPen of speed into my thigh. And
Okay.
That's
It's a good cocktail.
Yeah. It's
You like to have a good time.
It's like when White Rabbit peaks or whatever, like in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
I couldn't get through that whole movie.
Is that right?
I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. I was just confused. I
Mm.
didn't get it. Maybe I haven't done enough of those drugs to understand. But one thing I wanted to get into with you is, when did being authentic become cool? When did that become on brand, on trend? It was trending on Twitter. Authenticity over everything. 6 Lamborghinis. Ty Lopez.
Firstly, I'd like to invite people to check out my authenticity course.
6 Steps to Being the Real You.
Yeah.
By Cory Allen.
Uh-huh. I don't think authenticity has ever been cool.
Isn't that kind of the point?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. But no, I mean, I think it just, in the last couple of years, man, it became a thing where, it became a way to continue to further bypass, if you want to call it spiritual bypassing or whatever, a way to bypass the actual confrontation of what you need to work on and develop as a person to be who you want to be. But I think part of the problem is that people that, and not to generalize, but a person who is going deep into this idea of like authenticity without actually doing anything to change their behavior or look at truth in the face, they're actually getting further away from the thing because they don't actually know what the thing is.
Yeah.
So it becomes an ornament to wear, to add to your personality, to way to validate some behavior or pick your behavior, and then also feel good about yourself without actually doing any work.
Yeah. It's just me. I'm going to be me. I'm over here being me. I've heard that so many times, and it's like, well, you're being an asshole.
Right.
So you need to maybe look at why you have that draw to be, that person.
And here's the thing: if someone was like, "I'm going to be me," and you're like, "You're being an asshole," and they're like, I am being an asshole. I'm like, all right, good, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's good.
Step one.
Yeah. Now, do you like being an asshole? Do you realize what else that does to the rest of your life, like around you? Do you care? Like, let's figure out these things. And if you want to be just an authentic asshole, I mean, that's your choice.
Yeah.
You know?
But is that just an easy way to, again, just bypass actually looking into yourself and
Right.
seeing what the pattern that created the assholeness that you're bringing to the world on a daily basis?
Yeah.
And it seems like that may be the product of that, like that 90s generation that everybody loves to hate, the entitled me generation or millennials, where it gets to the place of, well, everybody told me I was special, and now I need to find a term to attach my specialness to, authenticity, and put a word that has a lot of good positive associations with it, and then adopt that for the actions that I'm going to take that are really just denying introspection in a way.
Right.
Yeah. But then again, true authenticity, I think, it kind of is the antithesis of being cool. It's like this counterculture.
Right.
Like, but the people that are genuinely, I feel like, genuine in their actions aren't noticed as much.
Yeah.
There's a lack of need for attention seeking from that place.
I was talking to Aubrey recently, and I was joking about that, of like how little effort I put into building my social media or any of that type of stuff. And I'm like, I guess my business plan is to just try and be a white hot flame in the quarter and hope people notice.
That's pretty accurate. It's funny. The social media thing's funny because I've done some weird things. So like it crosses your mind. It's like when you have friends that are social media influencers, and you're like, oh, maybe, and it's not even conscious. It's like, whoa, maybe if we take a photo together, like it'll get a lot of engagement. And I'm
Right.
like, Jesus Christ, dude. What are you thinking right now? It's like this unconscious thought that I went there with it. And
It's a strange choice to make, man.
yeah.
Like someone when I was having a meeting with someone, they're asking about my Instagram followers, and I was like, my friends and I are just too busy hanging out to take pictures of each other. I mean, that's why.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically why I don't use it. Like, I like to, actually spend time, and it just doesn't cross my mind to be like, oh, everyone, like, hold everything and let's
Yeah.
take a picture, and I don't know. I mean, if that's what someone's into, then please take pictures all day. It's just not. It's not how my brain is set up to work.
Yeah. I've gotten away from it quite a bit, but the funny thing is that once I did, the stuff that I actually put out there it gets more engagement from, because I think it is genuine. It's
Right.
like I'm like waiting on somebody at this cool place, and I'm like, this place is cool.
Yeah, and that's good. That's what it's for, man. Because you had a reaction, like
Yeah.
you had an honest like tug when you went into a place. You're like, oh, this place is awesome, and you're like, in fact, this place is so cool. Like, I'd like other people to see it because it's so sweet.
Yeah.
Not like that wall looks like a good canvas in which I could stand in front of with another person who I know has 10 times as many followers as me.
You see that so often at like
Yeah.
pools and
Yeah.
stuff. It's like there's somebody's like slowly walking into the pool, like right on the step, like
Dude.
posing, and you're like the friends in the water with the camera, just like taking 20 to 25 photos probably of this step into the pool that will then be manicured and changed to
tell
be
you-
on Instagram.
Let me tell
Wow.
you two wonderful stories real quick. So
Okay.
one is that just as an ecosystem, seeing that whole thing you're talking about is I was in LA. I was staying at the Standard downtown, and which is an awesome place. But I was like, go upstairs, and me and my friends were like, we'll go upstairs they have a bar on the roof that's like, it's a spot.
Yeah, I've heard of that spot. It's pretty good.
It's nice, yeah. But what's so funny is that it's full on, like the people that are chilling, for the most part, 90% of people, they're like trying really hard to have a good time. They're trying really hard to be like laid back and be cool and be like rooftop LA. And I stood there and I was watching the entrance, like the door that you get off the elevator and you walk through this door to get out into the rooftop bar. I'd like to make a side note. Of course, I got a cocktail and went and like sat in the corner,
That's the Cory Allen move.
Check the view, man.
That's what I call it. When I do that, I just call it the Cory Allen. Like, what are you doing? I'm Cory Allening over in the corner of a bar, just observing people.
And so, but what was fun was that like every person that walked through the door to enter the space, I saw their gait change in the way that they walked. Like their shoulders were square and their like steps were like kind of toothpicks. And then the second they cross the threshold to enter the rooftop, one shoulder drops, knees become more rubbery, and I just saw everyone like putting on the costume of coolness and like
Wow.
easygoing vibes. Every single person that walked through was like, "Oh man, everything's normal, everything's normal," and then, "Hey, what's going on, everybody?" Like, and it was just so funny to watch this time warp. It was like a portal. It was like the Doctor Strange, man. Somebody opened up this faux coolness portal and I was just like, "What is this?" Like, everyone here is on the inside is the uncomfortable, anxious, unsure human being, like we all are.
Yeah.
Well, they were before they walked out here, but everyone like has this social agreement where they enter this space, and everyone like, let's do a mass group hallucination of relaxation. And it's like, I'm like, what is anyone benefiting? I suppose it's like a vacation from not feeling that way, even though they are, or something. It's like an
Yeah.
amusement park, but it was really bizarre. Another great one, and just as far as the people like getting deep into allowing their experience of reality to be vampirized by their own conscious need to be making content out of their own experience. Like they're missing the thing to get a picture of the thing.
Yeah.
Of course. So I was in Iceland at there's this natural spa there called the Blue Lagoon, and it's the utmost shit. It's unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
like basically a bunch of volcanic rock, and then the natural geothermal spa, like water that comes up from the ground, it's heavy in silica, so it makes all of the area where the water is around the rocks like white because it's like pure mineralized silica. Then the water is naturally like 90 degrees or something. So and it snows there all the time. It's Iceland. And
Yeah.
so it's like snowing and the water is steaming. And also I was there during the part of the year where it's sunset for like pretty much all day. Like the sun never really comes out. Unbelievable. It's like one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. Anyway, it's a crazy experience. You go in there, you get dressed, you change your clothes, whatever, and you go out into this. It's huge. You can like wander around. It's kind of just this waist deep water that's naturally 90-95 degrees or whatever. And so I was there, with my wife. We were wandering around, and we did it like we got off the plane, went straight there. So it was like long haul flight and directly into this beautiful space to kind of float around and decompress. So we're sitting there chilling, and then by the entrance where you can walk in, there's this woman that like she walked around the corner like with a selfie stick, and like walked into the whole pool thing with the selfie stick, and was like posing. Like I can't really, it's hard to describe, but was doing like a different pose every quarter of a second, like changing the head, the arm, the shoulders, the hands, the expression on the face, and taking rapid fire pictures. And then like walk another 2 steps and then do that again, and then walk and do that again, and did that the entire way, like out, and then did that walking all the way back in, and would pause and take pictures, and then like got out.
She just left.
Yeah, and it was like, what is like that's the epitome. That's like a nuclear version of just like, what are you doing? Like, and ironically, it's probably like hashtag travel. Like I love
Yeah.
travel,
Actually, I live fully.
Yeah, but it's crazy. I mean, that's the most extreme I've ever seen. But it's like, man, you can go with the copying of your own idea of your own reality and identity into the digital realm. You can go like so deep where you're like, you hardly, where do you exist in that moment?
Yeah. It's interesting, man, and it sets people up. It's almost we want people to be envious in a way. It's like you're
Not almost, man.
Yeah.
I think that's the name of the game to a big degree.
yeah. It's like it's a status. It's another. We've created so many different outlets to find status and create status. Like, and then if you aren't super clear on which ones you give a fuck about, you can get super lost trying to create status. Instagram, gym, friend group,
Yeah.
car, money, job, like girlfriend, whatever, fill in the blank. And it's like you end up just reaching out and grasping all around you.
Sure.
And you don't even, it's all just an outlet to not look inward,
Yeah, and the irony of that to me is that all of that status is total nonsense.
Exactly.
It's all bullshit. And of course, like if a person makes $10 million a year or whatever, and they go around other people and they can like buy a bunch of stuff, then sure, in that little moment, the people who are like feeding off of their idea of whatever that status means, that's where like the magic wand works. But it's
Yeah.
like it's even that is like the person who's flexing the status and the or the control, because a lot of times that's control, and a lot of
Yeah.
times people build up that level of perceived status because not because they desire the thing, it's because they desire a way to manage their fear. Because like list your ailment, but whatever the reason is of why they're so, they might not know who they are. They might be scared of being vulnerable. They might be scared of death, or like they're trying to find meaning. They might be scared of being alone. So they're doing this thing to like build this system where they can wave the magic wand and like have a bunch of people be there, or like influence or control people.
Yeah.
And when controlling others, people are often trying to control themselves and create this wall that keeps that part of whatever, pain that they have, they're suffering, like in the dark. It keeps it behind the wall so it doesn't have to be seen. And what's kind of crazy about that is in the flexing of the status, they're actually not the one benefiting. Like the only way they're benefiting is by not having to acknowledge some part of truth of themselves in a lot of way, but the other people are the ones that are eating off of them.
Yeah.
And it's a weird, and I see that with just like the idea of someone who equates meaning to status or gets really caught up in that. It's just really sort of sad to me, and not in the stupid, not in like a weird pitying way, but it's like a bummer. It's like, oh man, that sucks, because it looks like someone who's kind of in pain and they're trying to
Yeah.
do something to like block that out or control it or something.
And one of the things I've noticed about that, and I'd share that sentiment completely, is because people want to make them out to those people out to someone who notices that they have a fear underlying driving these actions, and then consciously creates this environment to hide from it,
Right.
as if they're the puppet master of their own strings, right?
Exactly.
But they're not.
Mhm.
It's like you don't know that you're doing that. It just feels safer.
Totally.
It's like you're seeking whatever safety that's been patterned into your existence from the entrance to the world in the meat body, right? Like there's some reason that you feel safe in that behavioral pattern, so you're going to extrapolate that as much as you can. And sometimes the best thing to ever happen is for that to get completely taken away from you, even though it's traumatic in a way, but it's almost like the opposing trauma to the original trauma.
Dude, exactly. I've recommended that to a few friends of mine who are pretty wealthy. Is like do a financial fast.
It's huge.
It's like you're so into fasting and all this. Like, well, let's do one that actually hurts.
Yeah.
Like you don't care about all that other stuff you're fasting from. Live on $30,000 a year or something for a month. Like, and see how that feels.
Yeah.
Because it's a good way to like reset and kind of, yeah, find out what's actually going on under the hood there.
I had someone encourage me to do not a financial fast, because that's not been like a thing for. I actually like have to find other ways to make money valuable for me. It's weird. I have to like find a second degree thing and like turn it back up. Well, I need it because I need to like be alive and pay my bills and shit. But I realized someone I was working with named Rhonda Smith. She's a pretty badass human being, but she encouraged me. She noticed that I would seek relevance and attention from females, generally speaking. So if I felt insecure or scared, then I would seek that out. And that meant like going to Whole Foods and just trying to get attention from like just
Sure.
getting acknowledged by someone. And I thirsted so much for that kind of connection. And it was something inside me that was doing that. And she kind of encouraged me to just notice that and just not participate in that thought process, and bring awareness to it for 30 days. And I had to acknowledge so many things in myself through that month. It was really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I wasn't getting off for that month either. So it was like that. Even like there was just no way of avoiding those feelings that came up, dude. It changed. It shifted me so much.
It's huge, man.
Yeah.
That's because that's your chess piece.
Exactly.
It's like you're a good-looking guy, and I'm glad that we're locking eyes when I said that. And
How does it feel?
but it feels warm. It feels
Good,
comfortable.
good.
Yeah. I feel well. I'm pressed down into my seat. I feel the earth touching my feet back. But anyway, yeah, I mean that's your like throughout your life. That's a way in which you've been able to play that card to get control, get attention, get validation, fulfillment, distraction,
Mm-hmm.
any of those things that might, or even with other guys, you can try, and if you're feeling small or something, you can try and flex that in some way to feel dominant or whatever, and that pushes some fear away, pushes a piece of fear away, and that can happen so much because it's such a foundational piece, a card that's played so much that you get to where, and not you, but I mean everyone, like you
Yeah.
get to where you don't realize it. It's like the thing. It's like this little something I put in my book about like foundational behavior, is where no one would sit down and eat 10 tablespoons of sugar, but you're totally down to eat like a dessert every once in a while. And, like
Yeah.
the sugar's in there, but just because it's so mixed in and it's taken another shape, you're like, oh, that's fine. But
Yeah.
but really, if you I think about that when I'm cooking all the time. Like, if you break apart the ingredients, it's like I'm not putting 2 tablespoons of honey into this dish. Like that's so crazy. I wouldn't eat I wouldn't just eat 2 tablespoons of honey. But so anyway, yeah, man, it's hard to see that stuff, and I totally did the same thing. Actually, somewhat recently, it was just like, because my chess piece has always been like my brain.
Yeah.
And so throughout my whole life, I've always used it. And I used it as like a saber whenever I was younger, really aggressively. I was
Yeah.
like just a little asshole.
Would you like cut into people?
That was
Yeah.
all I did. It
Yeah.
was like always trying to like, I can see through your veneer. And so I'm going to like stab you right in the heart and twist it and show you how great I am and what a piece of shit you are.
Dude, yeah,
You know?
that's if you have the
And
capacity to do that, that's a big shadow to cast too.
it,
Because if
yeah,
you can see people
right.
and see what makes them insecure and be like, I'm not gonna do it. When I do it though, it's like I'll say things to you that you won't ever fucking forget.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
because they're true.
Yeah, and then being a super jerk and doing it in a sly way,
Oh,
or like a
no.
passive way, where like, oh yeah, here, catch this knife, this no look dunk, like knife, knife and sword throw,
And just dust your shoulder off and walk away.
Right. And so I'll get your mom to dust my shoulder off for me, and I'll walk away. And so it's so brutal, man. And like, yeah, I did that where. And even somewhat recently, like I'd gotten, of course, fortunately over the years, I realized that a dear friend of mine one time, where I was in like my early 20s, some homeless guy came up to me downtown and was asking me something. I said some crazy shit to him. I don't know, it was something way over intellectual and like philosophical about being or something. And he was like, and this guy's still one of my best friends. He's like, you don't have to show everyone that you're smarter than they are. And I was like, what do you mean? And from there, it was like, that was like kind of one of the things that started pulling the end of the thread that began unraveling that thing. I was like, oh, I've been an asshole and like a brat,
Yeah.
like a little smarty pants brat. And I really started working on it from there, and just like, realizing that, well, I'm doing that because I'm wounded inside. I'm trying to keep people away. I'm trying to keep the position and like the puzzle pieces of life in a certain way so that I can control it, because I am really, really like emotionally hurt inside, and I've got a lot of stuff I haven't acknowledged, and emotions have been, like traumas have been bottled up for years and they haven't been addressed, and it's just this thing boiling over. And so it's like
Yeah.
letting out a little steam from the kettle so the thing doesn't explode, and like the heat burns someone so it keeps people away. And um, that as that like, got smaller and smaller over time, I then even like recently uh, was started realizing like, oh man, I'm still there's this little piece of this thing where I'm doing it like with my intention is earnest, but in like contributing to conversation. Where whenever, and I'm kind of doing it now, but this is a point to this, is
Yeah.
that like in conversation, whenever you're talking to someone, being able to just like shut the fuck up and receive, and like allow someone to speak, and not try and rush to solve the equation of what they're talking about, or like rush to get in there to relate. And that's a weird one, because to me in conversation, I generally like, you say something, and then I say something, and you add some spice to that, and I add some spice to that, and it builds this energy, right? Because like
Mhm.
when we get excited, we're talking about a thing, and I think it may be even a dude thing. Like I
Yeah.
think dudes kind of do that. It's like tennis or something, of like you're building up this thing, and it usually starts getting funny because it starts getting weird, and like the rails come off, and it's just a fun, But like that's how I think I have related to people a lot in the past because I've had a lot of weird experiences. We all have, and you can share those and like add these perspectives and all this, and it becomes fun. And I kind of realized that like in a sense of doing that so much, it is still a way to control the narrative of like what's being talked about, how things are being talked about, and all this stuff. And these are just the finer layers of things. But I realized that, and I was like, oh man, I need to like chill with that. And I started calling it being a good boy, where whenever somebody, and it's like we all, everyone does this shit, but like whenever, if I was like, oh, I'm gonna make you the good boy for this one.
Okay.
If I was like, yeah, man, I was reading this Alan Watts book the other day, and you're like, the way is in. Like what you're doing is like that's being a good boy, okay?
Yeah.
So like you're trying to just relate, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
Everybody wants to feel connected. Like it's connection. Hurry.
Right.
I need to feel connected to you.
But
now.
what it's also doing is it's controlling the conversation in this really far out way because you're trying to show that you know what I'm talking about. So it's like it's one foot in relating, and it's also another foot in like authority. And
Yeah.
authority is a sense of ego. It's like, and you won't let that other person continue talking without trying to show that you already know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And it comes from like a earnest place. It's still a bad thing.
Yeah, it's
And
I've caught myself doing that so many times. When you, especially with books, books are one of the easiest
Sure.
ways to go into that. 'Cause like
Movies, yeah, music,
anything
everything.
like that. Where it's
I
like,
just did it.
yeah,
Being a good boy over here.
yeah, and you look at that and it's like, all right, how can I let somebody tell me what they thought about a book that I've read twice?
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
just
just shut the fuck up. Yeah, man.
It's so funny, and it's like, but the funny thing is, if you can be quiet and listen, you'll definitely learn something about that book that you didn't notice the first two times that you read it.
Exactly.
It's so funny, yeah. But we always want that relating, and I've noticed that I'm really gregarious and extroverted to a fault, and I noticed I as you said that, I was like, man, I do love to control the pace of conversations, and when I don't, I feel super inauthentic, like true inauthentic, where it's like I don't feel like if I'm not able to contribute and if I'm not able to at least challenge ideas, and I've got that attitude towards things where it's like I'll challenge your idea even if I don't agree with the other side, if I understand the other side, just so you have to shape your idea in a more full way.
Right.
And that's not me. I don't think you're wrong, maybe,
Yeah.
but it's like I love that kind of banter with people. And you can see real quick if people have created their identity out of their ideas about certain things. But it's sometimes the best is to chill on that shit for a while, because I didn't have a governor on it at all. It was just like was just my way of being. Was like, well, I'm gonna just be challenging and debate you for the sake of debating, even though I may have met you 6 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's just
then I'm
being
just
kind of a
dick.
jerk.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
like that's sort of some of the behavior that I was talking about, when
Yeah.
I was in my 20s, man.
Yeah.
Is that type of stuff where it's like they're like, yeah, I was thinking about this thing. It's like, oh, really? That's all you could think about? Like, let me tell you the deeper aspect of why you're thinking that. And I'm like, what? But it's like, also like, people don't need that shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's good to just. I think to me, man, like, as I kind of realized the good boy thing, and it's good that it's funny because whenever I recognize myself or other people doing it, it makes me laugh. and the idea of like, I just picture like a little kid that's like got the little, China doll like haircut, whatever, like swooped over the perfect and just sitting up straight, making mommy proud, making daddy proud, and it's good that it's rooted in being funny. But the more that I've been able to like ease up on that, I've been trying to really and another funny irony of it, and it just shows what a dummy I am, is that in this conversation, I haven't done it as much because we haven't seen each other in a while, so we're both kind of, spraying here, but like, just kind of being chill and like actually really getting deep into what someone else is talking about, it has been really enjoyable, man. It's been like, and I mean, I've always been like a good listener. I listen real close and real deep, but it's not about listening. It's about like, where is your point of attention? Why are you trying to put things to it, and for what reason, and what? And it's like, and I've been just feeling that more, and it's a good way to, as you were talking about, it's a good way to like learn a little bit more and to just like let someone else just hold the fire,
Yeah. And you get to see how they can handle a conversation too, and you're not trying to completely you're not just listening for leverage points.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, there we go. I'm not going to pole vault over you here, and
Yeah.
now I'm on top again because you slipped up, motherfucker.
Totally, man. Yeah, totally.
And that's empathy too. I think is a big piece of that, and I think as you said, in your 20s, and I think honestly that's what the 20s are for.
Yeah.
I just finished this book called Rethinking Narcissism. Fantastic book. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. I've been talking about it a ton, but we had that me generation kind of thing,
Yeah.
and it's narcissism became this incredibly negative association with that
Right.
term,
Right.
when really it all exists on a spectrum. And then if you look at the story of Narcissus, the person who put the curse on the pool, so essentially Narcissus was someone who didn't acknowledge other people and thought he was the best and couldn't love because he was so in love with himself. And this creature in the woods fell in love with him. Anybody who saw him would fall in love with him. And I'm sure I'm just mansplaining to you right now because you may know.
I'm not going to be a good boy. I'm just
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah, and you can jump in, freedom to jump in whenever you want. But essentially, this creature in the woods, as they say, like Echo, who had lost a lot of herself, fell in love with Narcissus and reached out to him and wanted attention, like grabbed onto him, and he pushed her away. And so she put a curse on this pond, essentially, and he caught a glimpse of himself in this pond. He couldn't look away.
Right.
Couldn't look away. And he'd reach for himself, and he would, the ripples would take him
What
away.
do you think his voice sounded like? I picture Narcissus's voice is like, kind of something like that.
Probably something kind of whiny and you think like Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
That is exactly what I was hearing in my mind. Yeah.
Exactly. But essentially he goes and he chases after his reflection and drowns, right? He dives, well, he never comes back up.
Yeah.
Right. And so this guy puts to seriously dilute the story, he puts it on a spectrum of like Narcissus and then echoism, which is the far end, which is completely losing yourself. And you think about the term echo, like it's a hollow representation of a voice. So there's healthy narcissism is kind of it's like on the spectrum from echoism to complete like narcissistic personality disorders in that like 6 to 7 range, where you do need to feel that you're special and that the people are, the funny thing is in that range that you believe that the people that are around you are also special, so you end up treating them like they're special to you. And because they're your friends, like, well, if I'm special, then these people are special because now we're,
I'm so amazing. These people have to be
and I'm
in the same solar system as me.
And they're amazing because they like me. It's like this weird, weird place, and that's like healthy narcissism, and a lot of that comes from childhood, where it's like you should be. His take is that being confident in your ability to accomplish great things is fantastic, and that's how great things get accomplished. And also knowing that you don't have to be valuable to the world. Like this nice balance of that. Whereas if your contributions of being completely fucking awesome are what you live for, and if that doesn't happen and you end up getting disillusioned by that, your complete identity just folds into itself.
Right.
So you end up dragging people down with you, or resorting to really cunty things to get where you think you need to be or where you deserve to be. And it's like Mark Manson says, confidence is narcissism minus entitlement. So that the entitlement piece becomes really, really profound there. But noticing that about yourself, and that's a long-winded way of explaining like my own reflections on my narcissism in my 20s, and then noticing those. It took me till my late 20s and early, I'm 31, like this last few years where I've started to actually have enough reps of fucking up to realize like, oh, I was being an entitled douchebag a handful of times, and it happened a few times, and I relied on somebody who was essentially taking advantage of me enough times where I'm like, I've done this a few times now, I can see the characteristics, and then I can start to make change. But if it doesn't, your intuition gets shaped through all that.
Totally.
Your kind of gut sense of, oh, wow, I had a feeling about that. I didn't really know what it was.
I didn't listen to it the first 90 times.
Yeah, but
91.
It's like, oh, that's what that empty feeling in my chest meant, was that this isn't really a good person that I need to, and it's funny, but that's the shaping of intuition through your 20s is really just the time for you to kind of play with that and express the boundaries of where your own selfishness limits should be drawn.
Totally, man. Yeah, you're figuring out who you are. Whenever I was like 22 or something, a friend of mine that was in his late 30s was like, "You're not even a person until you're 30," and I was like, "Shut up! You're almost dead. You're 39." And and then whenever I turned 30, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm barely a person right now."
Yeah, I feel like you just get reborn. You're like, wow, I need to.
Just got over my existential paralysis.
It's like I should take responsibility for my actions now. It's like, damn, this happened at a really. I feel like I probably should have figured this stuff out by now. That's the funny thing when you look back. Like, how did it take me this long to?
Dude, whenever you
figure
look at
this out,
like Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah,
Biggie Smalls, and like he died at 24 or something.
Yeah,
it's like how is he so self-actualized? And I know it's just that his environment pressures one to grow up younger and like experience all that in their, or, 9, 10, 11,
Yeah,
12.
yeah.
But like the fact that he was so self-actualized as far as his self-awareness and confidence and like how much he knew about the world at like 22.
Hmm.
That's insane, man.
Well, Hendrix is 27, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, how did I think about that? I
He's
was
an
about it the other
alien.
day. I was like, how did you do all that by the time you were 27 years
Yeah,
old?
man.
And I think you had to kind of lose your shit early, probably.
Yeah, same thing
So-
with like Jim Morrison too. Like
Yeah.
I always thought he was like 45. He looked 45. Like but I think he died at 27 as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Amy Winehouse too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
which
wild.
was trippy was that back like right before like the year that her Back in Black album was gonna come out,
Yeah.
during South by Southwest, the Budos band, well, actually it was Sharon Jones and the Daptones or whatever, were playing somewhere at the Emos like annex thing, and I knew the guy that books the shows there, and so I was like, oh man, could you get us in, like just let us in the back door for that one because not trying to stand in line for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So we
That's-
slid
you're
around.
too entitled for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just I can appreciate the music so much,
Yeah.
man. So anyway, slide in the back, hanging out backstage, so like watching them from side stage was really cool. But then Amy Winehouse was there, just chilling, like standing there backstage. And I remember like looking at her. I mean, she was standing right next to me, but I was like looking at her, didn't know who she was. But it's so crazy how you can catch this vibe of what you're talking about off a person sometimes.
Yeah.
Where I was like, something's up with this woman. She's got some deep, like, kind of somehow she's a black hole and a sun at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. And then there was all these dudes kind of like following her around and stuff, like big handsome guys, kind of like I don't know, I think they were all together,
Yeah.
And it's interesting to like feel someone's like that, feel their energy, feel their vibe.
Yeah.
And then later when she got her album came out, she became famous in America. I was like, oh wow, Beehive.
Yeah. 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 Right. I wonder what that is when you feel that on someone, because I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
I don't know, dude.
It's strange.
Yeah, and some of that vibe is like, you meet some people, and it's not a good one.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have that pull, that vortex, that feeling, that weird like how many sides of a magnet are pushing and pulling on this. But sometimes it's a bad one, and sometimes it's both, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's
The ones that are both are the scary
they're
ones,
very scary.
right? That's when you get to what's the Charles Manson type characters.
Yeah.
Where it's like you even listen to, if you like read what he wrote sometimes, and if I've heard people read these out, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Or if you watched Wild Wild Country, I don't know if you
I
saw it
watched
or
the
not.
first episode.
Yeah, it was really slow, but something that you're like, man, it actually, when it was small and
know.
contained, it looked really fun.
Yeah.
I've been all about it, and then it just outgrows itself and becomes really just toxic.
I don't know if to try and scale spirituality just is always like a bad.
It seems like
bad,
it,
man.
dude. Yeah, because when you start becoming validated for your wokeness,
Right.
shit gets real weird.
Right.
And I've even seen that in my little, the small podcast world with the realness community and stuff. Like every now and then, someone will come out and like project their ideas of what my life is like in some Facebook Live Q&A or something, and I'm like, yo, dude, that's like not how this is at all. But people are like, oh, you seem like you're happy all the time. People say that. I'm like, dude, like I'm gonna just, and I try to like, and that's even the lifestyle design work, and I'm even hesitant to call that coaching a lot of times because I'm just trying to add a perspective to your life if you feel called to have that happen, and I think you have all the answers, but every now and then you'll get like a projection of like you being like almost like somebody wants you in that role of guru, and I can see how if you have the propensity to take that on, that can get extremely intoxicating.
I know, man. It's a weird aspect of human behavior is that people want. I think it's like people just want something that they can trust.
Yeah.
And so they're like, God damn it, the world, in my experience of it, is so all over the place. There's all this sweet and sour shit happening all the time. And I want one thing I can count on to always be sweet.
Yeah.
That's just not reality. And so, but people put that on someone else and, they project it onto another person because they want it. They want this person to be a guru or a spiritual leader or a god or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's just I think if you're in a role in which you receive that, best thing to do is immediately challenge and shatter it. I mean, like in the first, this is so weird, man. But in the first couple of years of my podcast, I had people hit like the amount of people that messaged me or emailed me and told me that like they sincerely believed that I was a Buddha or a Bodhisattva or something. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I would respond to them and be like, have you listened to my podcast? Have you listened to this stupid shit and ridiculous shit that I say? And they're like, that's what a Bodhisattva would say.
I was about to say the same thing. I'm like, I don't know, man. The Bodhisattva path, in a way, is kind of exactly what it is.
Yeah, they're like, you've chosen to remain in a state of suffering so that you can help others. I'm like, I have not chosen that. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm hungover right now.
When I read about Buddhism, like the Bodhisattva path seems the most intriguing to me. I'm like, that seems pretty kick-ass.
Yeah.
But then when they have the Bodhisattvas that live in the heavens afterward, they get pretty out there too.
Oh yeah. You ever gone into like Dzogchen Tibetan path of Buddhism?
I don't think so.
You should. I'll like tell you some books if anyone's interested. Flight of the Garuda is a great one.
Flight of the Garuda.
Flight of the Garuda.
I'll put the link in the description for all those people that want to grab it.
Yeah, and read excerpt from it first because it's like the most far out, like deepest. It's great. I mean, it's for me, it's really the candy that I enjoy eating. But it's pretty far out. It's like, and then you just go into a rainbow tent of light and reach total awareness, and then this disciple in the lineage of Buddhahood then found a bottle that was full of a elixir of eternal life, and it had instructions on the side how to intake it. And when he did, he laid an egg, and it hatched this bird that flew, and the wings of the Garuda represent balance and peace, and like the expansion and contractions of both sides, and the tips of the wings touching are the polarities of all being. And then that happened, the Buddha that laid that egg, then his body melts and he turns into a rainbow body. And so like his body, he ages 80 years in just a few minutes, and then there's nothing but like a corpse and a vibrant rainbow there, and he like transcended into another dimension. Like it's like the deepest, but amongst all of that, like that's all actually kind of a quote from the book. I wasn't making that up, but like that's like paraphrasing like the first 20 pages. But and there's a lot of books on Dzogchen Buddhism, but like and they all kind of go on. It's all the same stories, but the actual takeaways, like that's all just the crazy symbolic shit that they're putting in there. Like that's their icing on the cake. But the takeaways of that stuff is really deep, where it's all like, well, have you sat and thought about the fact that your mind is a projection until you have no more questions about it anymore? No. Well, then don't come talk to me again until you do.
It's the first step.
It's like, but no more questions? Yeah, no more questions. Think about it. Think about the fact that where does your mind come from? Well, I guess is it in your hand? I don't think so. Is it in your brain? I mean, probably. Well, where is that? It's in my head. Well, where is the brain? Where is your actual arising of consciousness coming from? I think it's my brain. But where is that coming from? The source, the eternal source. But what is the source? A river of energy, perhaps, that keeps the engine of the universe running. And where is that getting its energy? I don't know, man. Okay? He's like, okay, good. So sit until you have that experience, and then go on to the next sentence, which is like another one of those.
Like an impossible.
Those are the instructions. Like that's the Flight of the Garuda instructions.
That sounds like a lot. That sounds like
good.
a very Cory Allen thing to do.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I get fascinated when I read this stuff, any of it, and I read this book, God is Not One, and it goes over like the 7 major religions, and I get fascinated by why people believe the things that they believe, and how cultural it is, and then looking at all the ways that it's the same, and how we just recreate the same archetypes. Like I finished something about Shambhala Buddhism.
Cool.
And I thought that was fantastic. And they were talking about the Buddhas that have transcended and how they'll call them back in, like the Buddha of compassion, and they'll have these chants around that. And I keep thinking, like, isn't that just a way for you to remind yourself that having compassion is a pretty good idea?
Totally. Yeah.
With some really badass sounds and songs
Definitely.
and chants.
Yeah.
Like, sounds. If you take it, and that's one thing I love about Buddhism too, is that it does root in very practical, for the most part. Pretty practical.
I don't know what you mean.
Intentions.
That all sounded so practical to me. I'm so woke. I can't connect the dots that you're making there. Don't you love when people do that?
I love that. There's some people out there, if you go down the YouTube rabbit hole, of like in the woke culture that had that voice that you just made, and they speak it doesn't really change pitch at all. It's just
that's the non-triggered voice, man.
Yeah.
That's the, and no hate, but all of the Sounds True recordings.
Yeah.
That publisher, Sounds True.
Yeah.
They put out a bunch of like new age and kind of spiritual books. Again, no hate, but all of their narration of like any of their audiobooks or their podcasts, it's all in that tone of like, it's all like rounded and concave sounding.
Yeah.
So it's not possible to trigger anyone for anything. They're like, hello and welcome to this episode of the podcast. It's like, it's almost like MSR or whatever it is.
NPR?
Yeah, no, the sound therapy.
Oh,
where it's
yeah.
it's like, there's no possible way that anyone could be triggered by anything that we say or even how we say it. As a matter of fact, this podcast is going to be 40 minutes of silence.
Well, it might as well be it's like you're not even listening to anything.
Yeah.
It's just your brains just it's almost like a subliminal message. The whole thing, you just embody it.
It's good though, man. Like like I wasn't trying to hate on. I think it's just funny that it's peculiar that that's a lane, but it's good for those people that need that vibe with that style. And I know, there's a lot of great stuff that they put out.
Yeah.
And people get into that, and it's funny, but it's just an interesting, it's a fascinating thing that exists.
Yeah.
I guess in the same way that like Andy Kaufman exists.
I know, right?
It's just interesting to me, like that's out there and that people are with it.
Yeah, the diversity within stand-up comedians is also something that really trips me out.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different kinds of people that stand on a stage for us to be entertained by.
Yeah.
And how much that has evolved and changed from like Theo Von. I don't know if you're familiar with him now, but he's
great.
fucking hysterical. And it's like I watched that guy on The Real World. From then
What?
you have he was on The Real World like
weird.
8 years ago. Yeah. I don't remember. I think it's like Real World. I don't remember which one it was, but he was funny then. I thought he was hilarious. Then he's on the challenges and stuff. I used to be really into that when I was like in high school. And then you have like guys like Andy Kaufman and the old guys. And then like if Jerry Seinfeld existed now, like probably wouldn't be that funny.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
not.
Like his early stuff. I mean, he's funny now and he's adapted to it.
Yeah,
but
he's funny as like a caricature.
Yeah,
He's
like what's the deal with her?
Yeah, I mean I think a lot of comedians, and like he's one of those where it takes perspective, but it's also like a cultural moment. It all kind of land at the same time. Like the culture needs. I mean, really, a great comedian or a great artist in general, I think, is someone that can observe the horizon of society before it arrives, understand it, digest it, and then give like an interesting perspective on it, so that as people are waking up to it, they're already figured it out and they're talking about it, so it's helping people make those connections.
Yeah.
And he just had he was just alive at a weird time, like the late 80s or whatever. Like that was when he was doing his thing, and so it was just a strange moment. Like I'm like the biggest stand-up comedy fan, but of the most narrow lane. Like I love like Louis, of course, like Segura, Chappelle, people like that. But I really like the people that are really abstract and absurd, but also like totally go down these weird rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Because absurdity is kind of, to me, it's like comedic dynamite. Because if you take reality and then like take something that bends reality and then force those two things together, like that's always enjoyable. Or it's just the way my brain works, maybe.
No, I think a lot of it's who you resonate with has a lot to say with how you want to see the world and what you want to see challenged in the world. I think that goes for podcasts too. It's like who's going to explain what the fuck is going on in the world in a way that partially challenges me and partially confirms what I already believe.
Right.
And when you get too deep on one of those other things, and you kind of lose perspective.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm really into challenging ideas, so I'll listen to Rogan.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
What do you find challenging about that? Like,
well, so when he brings on guys like Graham Hancock, like the ones that I picked out.
Hold on. I wasn't saying that. I don't find that challenging at all. I was genuinely curious. Like, what are the things on there that you find challenging?
Yeah. So when you get guys like Graham Hancock, for example, that talks about how old the pyramids actually are. Like it's like challenging a modern assumption of what is, or Rhonda Patrick talking about the way that time restricted eating can be. It challenges the modern food pyramid. Like just these modern the things
She's
that we
like,
just
I've been
assume.
sitting with tweezers. I had this caterpillar out of the rainforest. I've been pulling tweezers, these little hairs off of its feet since it's been walking over this one particular leaf, and I've been putting them in a petri dish for 9 years. And if you if you put that in your smoothie, man, you have unlimited energy, and it rebuilds telomeres out the ass. You know,
She's so
yeah,
out
she's
there.
crazy,
it's like,
man.
What the, all right, well, cool.
Yeah,
People go
so
super out
deep.
there, and then Joe does a good job of just like of creating a space. People just he challenges their ideas in a way, which I find super intriguing as well. But I think with stand-up comedians, it's the same way, and how the media that we choose to take in. Music's another one that I probably overlook a little bit. It's just funny. This has completely changed the subject, but how much when I listen to my little like rewind playlist on Spotify, it plays stuff that I liked growing up, and I remember being so scared of liking. I still like kind of feminine music to this day. Like I love like churches and stuff like that, and I've always been kind of shy to put that out there that I like music that is from my early childhood, like gay.
Yeah.
Like how scared I was of being gay. Back in the day, it's like, I don't want to be called a fag. And it was like so funny. So we listened to like Metallica. And I was like, this is fine. The Black Album's okay. But it's like it was such a behavioral shift based upon
a weird sentence.
Yeah.
You listened to Metallica, but the Black Album was okay?
I don't remember. That's the only one. That's the one I remember when I was like in 8th grade. I don't know. I didn't even really like it that much. I just pretended to like it so people wouldn't think I was like a pussy.
Sure.
It was so weird.
Well, I say it was weird because that was like their softest record.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I'm telling you, I was a complete poser.
Yeah.
That shows it.
That's interesting, man. That's interesting. Yeah, like I know what you mean about people are really freaked out about putting stuff out there, but like whenever you're telling me you listen to churches and whatever else, like I don't know. I didn't think until you filled me in that you didn't want to feel soft.
Yeah.
I would never have thought that because firstly, like sound to sound.
Yeah.
And whatever, but it's crazy how everyone does that stuff. With what you wear, how you put yourself out in the world, like your idea of your own expression. People are so uncomfortable with putting it out there because they're worried about the way that other people will see it. But what's so weird about that is that like everyone sees everything differently, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're worried about the idea of what someone else's idea is going to be, and like rarely it's hard for that to actually exist. Like that's the problem. It's even hard for that to exist. And so it's like it's a thing that I think maybe with age sometimes or whatever, like you can get to where you just like don't give a fuck anymore, and then you realize like, oh wait, why did I spend my entire life worrying about how I was seen by the world?
Yeah. And I think, when you're 12 years old and everybody's trying to figure it out, and you're like, I got this sweet No Doubt album. You guys want to listen to it? You guys want to jam?
Is that what you're into? You like No Doubt?
I did back then.
Man, I didn't listen to them, but I listened to like extreme death metal and black metal and like gangster rap, like Cannibal Rap, Brother Lynch Hung, stuff like that. Yeah, cooking up human steaks for Satan, like stuff, or whatever. Smoking a blunt with the devil. Yeah, that's a good sketch.
We were on different wavelengths for sure.
But yeah, man, like I play guitar a lot.
Yeah.
Like I started when I was like 13 or something.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I went in, I was talking to my mom, and I was like, I really want to buy this guitar, but it's like $400, and I only have $300, whatever. And I was always like a woodshedder, still kind of am.
Yeah.
Like just off in my room, door closed, like doing whatever, going deep. And she was like, if you can learn the guitar solo from this, like whatever that No Doubt hit was, like in the 90s.
Spiderwebs or something?
It was like a ballad.
Yeah.
So if you can learn that is it No Sleep? Or no, that's something else. I don't know.
Anyway,
that's probably not it. No Sleep.
So your mom was like challenging you to learn a No Doubt guitar solo?
Yeah, she's like, if you can learn that guitar solo, I'll give you extra money to buy that guitar that you want. And I was like, all right. She didn't know I'd been in there shredding, getting death metal guitar solos all day. I learned it in like 20 minutes.
Cash the check.
Yeah,
cash the check.
She followed up with it. She came through.
Yeah.
She's like, all right.
I see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But the thing I think the danger there is whenever we get to a place where we hold on to that shit forever.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, just trying to like impress or be validated in whatever way. And it's like, no, I can listen to that now in the gym. And be like, yeah, I don't need somebody screaming at me to like lift weights. I just
Yeah,
do it.
I'll listen to No Sleep if I want to.
Yeah. I will listen
No
to
Sleep.
Waterfalls by TLC and
Yeah.
Mariah Carey all I want. I think maybe that's why I'm just so big. That's why I got so big. I was just like,
maybe the estrogen from the music.
yeah,
It got you pumped up, man.
yeah, it did, it did.
Pointed your focus, man. I'm whenever this is like the digression podcast that
It
we're
is.
doing here, but whenever I worked in a bookstore in my like late teens, early 20s, there's this old weird dude that was like,
Yes.
he was like, he was in his like 60s at the time, and he had been a philosophy major and did a ton of acid, and then just like was a sculptor for the last like 30 years and then retired. So he's super far out there.
Yeah.
So I talked to him about Heidegger and shit all day, but he'd put like heart on and like crank it, Barracuda,
Yeah.
stuff like that, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, and nothing against that song, but why are you doing that? And he'd be like, the estrogen. It's like ladies come in here and they hear the estrogen in the music, and it makes them, their estrogen kick on, and I just can wander around in this ocean of like pheromones. I'm like, dude, you are you on another planet, man. Yeah.
What if when you're like 70 years old, you start to be able to see pheromones and estrogen, and somebody's playing heart, and you're like, oh my god, that son of a bitch was onto something.
Yeah. He was cutting edge. He was like Tesla. Everyone thought he was crazy, man.
God damn.
People are so weird, aren't they?
It's funny though. I love it. I love how weird, dude. I like to surround myself with the weirdest fucking people sometimes.
Yeah.
And people think that I'm so not weird. Actually, I think that
Who
gets
thinks that?
dude, people, but from the outside perspective, what you see and what you get with me is like there's such a dichotomy there, and I understand that. I used to actually, when I coached CrossFit, I started to see that. I was probably like 24. I started to catch on, like, if I sit up here and stroke off my knowledge of exercise, no one's really listening and no one really gives a fuck. But if I can keep these people engaged and then like tack on some information that's helpful for them inside and outside of the gym, well, that becomes helpful at that point. Then I'm actually adding value. But the only way I can do that is if I act exactly how they think I'm supposed to act based on how I look.
Right.
So I would just play this like bro character. And I still do it. It's fun as hell. So then, that would create a sense of vulnerability with people that I would then be able to like give them actual like tips on how to do fitness better, and then we would turn that into like philosophy for life, because how you do anything is how you do everything.
Gotcha.
So in that place, it was fun, but I started to realize that like people don't, like, for example, like this, people don't pin me as a person who likes to read. And they see me in the gym or whatever.
That's strange. Okay.
And I'm like, but it's weird. It's just a weird thing to experience. Where
Who is a person that likes to read? Someone with glasses?
I know, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any. It's not necessarily logical, but it's like it's just we end up in these like snap judgments of what somebody should be based upon how they seem, feel, whatever. And it's getting different now, but because I surround myself in different circles. But if you're out there, it's like I used to get off on like being a dichotomy, and it's really fun. It's really intriguing.
People are such like deep, rich tapestries, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much in there and a lot of stuff that each individual isn't even aware of, right?
Oh,
It's,
huge.
and so I don't know, man. I try and you can catch someone's vibe and like have an impression of what someone might be like. Like, well, that dude probably he clearly likes to work out. He probably eats a lot of chicken and broccoli, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mineral water, maybe some squats here and there. Likes to like pools in hotel rooftops are not out of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
But you never know what else is going on there.
Yeah. I love that about being able to. That's why I like being around people so much. It's like, and especially when they start to self-realize, because you give them the space to talk, like we were talking about earlier, and they get a chance to do something that, especially when they're super funneled into pretending to be a certain way and they don't really catch it. That's why one thing that's I love about dating. So I don't have like one relationship, because it's fun to be a part of someone unfolding themselves and expressing themselves to you in a vulnerable way. It's fun.
Yeah, and they're also like trying to be like the number one version of who they want to be.
Yeah.
Because it's like that's like your new. All right, here's this new person. I can make a new impression upon the world, and like that's who I want to try and be. And so you get to like I'm assuming, but you get to feel that even when you meet someone new, like people are often trying to like, hey, here's the best me I can be. And then you see them for the 20th time, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Exactly.
They're
And
not
then
trying to-
where do they go to? Like, how does it?
Yeah.
And will they start to? One thing people do is like,
Whoa, that
will they?
was loud.
Whoa. Will they start to shift into your kind of way of being?
Yeah.
Right. To find some kind of validation in that, and like not only giving people permission not to do that, but kind of discouraging that is something I found to be really important.
I like the interlocking of two minds because, with mirror neurons or something
Yeah.
like that, where you're literally, they scientists will say that the mirror neurons. I don't know if you're too hip to what's going on with them, but for any listeners, feel free to be a good boy and jump in at any moment. But basically, it's like an evolutionary trait that allows humans to learn from observing other people. So like, there are neurons where they mirror the behavior of someone else so that you can, like, if someone's building something, out in the wild or something, when you're a little human critter scurrying around a couple 100,000 years ago, you can learn to replicate their behavior, and so you can pick up that trait yourself. But as neurology and like the human mind is complexified over time, those mirror neurons have turned into like behavioral, emotional, mannerisms and personality archetypes and all this type of stuff. So whenever you interact with someone, you interface, you're literally like copying each other's behavior against your will. Like
Yeah,
you can't.
it's subconscious.
That's like being
Yeah.
like, nah, man, I got complete control of my amygdala, bro.
Yeah, right.
No fight or flight. I got my thumb on it, man. I can flick that switch either way. Anytime. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. And so, mirror neurons are the same way. It's like, yeah, you like the two people, you lock into each other's behavior and you like become that person a little bit. And
Mhm.
I find that really interesting. It's like, I mean, I'm 90% or 80% like me, but then whoever you see, like, I feel like, well, I'm also my behavior is changing 20% because I'm morphing with this person.
Yeah.
Like, we're overlapping, and it's just a really fun thing. It's like cool to get to, like, all right, what cocktail is going to be created by Cory and Connor, like,
Yeah.
talking to each other, and I'm much goofier whenever I talk to you.
Yeah.
Whenever I talk to most people. But it's good, man. It's
No,
a good thing.
I think podcasts give a good representation of that. And I mean,
Yeah.
moving into like video content, like I was doing some videos with a friend of mine, and he's super soft and spoke in the way that he speaks, and it's just still kind of a soft version of he says fuck way less than I do and things like that. And I noticed that whenever I was doing videos with him, I was like, I can't even put this out because this isn't even this isn't on brand for me. It didn't feel authentic when I
Sure,
watched
sure.
it back. But in the moment, I was like, oh, I just kind of took this. I think it's different when somebody has more experience in something than you, then you take on even more of it. And I was like, okay, this is a good learning experience to be rooted in who I am. And mirror neurons are super funny because that's a big piece of empathy, is the way that we perceive visually with each other.
Right.
They did a study on Botox. Have you heard about this? No. So if you get people that do Botox, right, it essentially freezes the muscle
Oh,
of their face.
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
with people that would have, Botox to a point where they couldn't mimic your facial expressions very well, you would feel a disconnect from those people,
Yeah.
even though they may emotionally be connecting with you. You just weren't picking up that they were. It's like talking to a mannequin, for
Right.
lack of a better term, like a living fake person, and you just didn't feel the same amount of empathy from somebody who didn't have the capacity to like move their face, even though it's not a conscious thing that you do to mirror someone's smile, or if someone's sad or happy or upset or stressed out. Like, you almost need to meet them in the middle
Yeah.
by with those mirror neurons, and that was something I thought was super interesting.
I'd like to imagine, and like, probably in Hollywood or Malibu or something, like two people who have had a ton of Botox. Like,
That's immediately where I went to.
what are their conversations apart about each other like? You know what I mean? So they go have lunch, and I want to hear each independent transcript to their other friends about like what that other person is like.
And they're just describing their other friend, their non-Botox friends, about how they feel exactly the same way about the person with Botox that the other person feels about them.
Exactly.
Yeah, it goes on and on forever and ever. Yeah, dude, people are weird, and I love it.
They're very weird.
Yeah, get to experience a lot of them. It's fun stuff.
Yeah, man.
Well, dude, this has been a nice little roller coaster. I like how it dissolves in the last 20 minutes every time me and you get on the
Does
the
it?
mic. I think so. Yeah.
Cool.
It's this nice pattern of like coherent thought into like, no doubt and death metal.
Oh yeah, no sleep.
So what was the book you brought up again one more time?
Oh, Flight of the Garuda.
Flight of the Garuda
Yeah.
and Rethinking Narcissism. Those are the two book recommendations from this audio experience.
I also like the fact that if you take a zoom out one click from the title of Rethinking Narcissism, the narcissism and being like, I'm going to redefine the term narcissism right quick. That's so funny to me.
I wanted to have the guy on that wrote that book on the podcast just so I could ask him that exact question.
Nice.
I was like, this is kind of, and then I did a narcissism test on their website and put it all on my Instagram story. And I was, who catches the fact that me blasting out my level of, actually, and I looked at it as like very healthy level of narcissism, blasting it out to all of my followers is extremely narcissistic.
I love that. That's good, man.
It's
But
just meta. I just like to live in a meta place.
as long as you're transparent with your actions and you're rooted in your authentic self, and you're good to go,
That's
man. You're
it.
clear for all sorts of nasty behavior.
Yeah, exactly. As long as it's just me being me, you know.
Yeah.
Don't step on my toes, and I'm trying to just be myself out here in the world.
That's
even
right.
if that means I'm going to be an asshole sometimes.
That's right.
Oh, good stuff. Where can everybody find you, Cory? For those that listen to the very end, they can probably get this information in the bio too, but whatever.
Yeah, no, they can find me in Austin. I go to Bolden Creek Coffee Cafe a lot.
Oh yeah, I dated one of the waitresses from there for a while.
Is that right?
Yeah. She said I was a narcissist.
Oh, did she follow you on Instagram? Did she see your report that you put out?
That's why I put it out there. Just so she
you're
could see it.
hoping?
I don't think she
Did you
did,
look
though.
at the Who Watched the Story to see if she watched it?
I'm going to now.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
Just so she knows that I'm a healthy narcissist.
So, yeah, I go to Bolden Cafe a lot. You can find me there. Also, you can find me at Whole Foods in Central Market. And so I like to take my followers on social media. I actually also like to try and cultivate a bunch of real life followers. So
Okay.
I have a line of people, like several thousands of people that follow me around.
Yeah.
And I'll turn around and I'll say a tweet at them, like one line.
Do they cheer and
Well, some of them unfollow me. Some of them go. Some of them go walking off in the other direction. I'm like, shit, that person unfollowed me. But some of them retweet. So I'll say something,
and they'll just say it again.
Yeah, they'll say it, and then they'll say it to someone behind them, and then maybe someone that's randomly walking by will hear that, and then they'll come over and they'll start following.
Yeah.
And they'll respond to it and
good.
relate. So that's always nice. But no, Cory, CORY-Allen.com. Come check me out. The Astro Hustle is my podcast. It's much more, I think, less silly than not that that's a bad thing, it's a good thing, but it's all about untangling the terror of modern living through mindfulness and philosophy, and getting to the root of the human condition so that you can reduce your suffering and actualize your inner landscape and such. But say hi.
That's the best description of anybody's ever given on this show of their own show.
Oh, good. I came up with it as I was talking because I'm a good boy.
You are a good boy. We'll see you next time, Cory. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks, man.
That is our show, everybody. Thank you for hanging out. If you are new to the show, make sure to hit subscribe and get all the updates when the new episodes come out. And if you love the show, head over to iTunes, give it a 5-star review. And if you're into conversations just like this one, then the Realness community on Facebook is the place for you. We got Facebook Live Q&As every week. We call those Wandering Wednesdays. And I just pop on, sometimes with a guest from the show and sometimes solo, just interacting with everybody who wants to hang out, discuss ideas, discuss how to approach certain issues in their lives. We have a good time. It's really lighthearted. And, the overall goal is to take ourselves a little bit less seriously, have some compassion, and bring a full version of ourselves to our daily lives. Good stuff, guys. Thank you again for hanging out. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for all of the Cory Allen fans that found their way over here. Always appreciate you guys, and super grateful to call that guy a friend. Such a badass human being doing his work out in the world. We will see y'all next time. Have a kick-ass day. Peace.